right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this talk over here. So I have with me Maël Deschamps and Simone Gayet-Said, and they are going to talk about what I think is something extremely interesting, protecting wildlife in Africa with AI. They've told me that this is really a passion project of them, and they are also doing their very first talk. So give them a very big round of applause.
Thank you, thank you. So what we want to present today is a not super technical talk, a bit more storytelling talk about basically our journey that we had to follow to really apply this project and to come to the point where we had to do AI in parks in Africa. So you will still have a bit of technical stuff, of course. We have a camera trap with us, if you want to check it. It's the device that we want to basically put in park. We also have a live demo, so bear with us, it's going to be fun. Still, for those who were here yesterday at the Hugging Face talk, I'm sorry, because you will have also a lot more of French accent, but bear with me. I'm doing my best, I swear. So let's start this one. Let's be polite. This is us, Maël and Simo. We are both machine learning engineers. I'm the lead machine learning engineer on my side, and Simo is in my team. We both have a computer science master degree. The only difference between us, I would say, is that I did it in China, and I love volleyball, and Simo did it in Italy, in Bologna, and he loves football. We work, and it's important for the next step, because this is also the story of how we managed to push it to our own company. We both work for a consulting company, Artefact, a bit more than 1,000 people, a global consulting firm that focuses on data, which basically means we work for many sub-companies. We are sold there. We are doing projects for them. A lot of big names in the Netherlands. And what we try to achieve with Artefact is basically to combine business people with tech people. So we really have this strategical view together with the technical and the engineering culture. So sometimes it works well, sometimes you have a bit of friction between the two, but the goal is to really add value using data, and that's also what we try to do together with this project. Why it's important to also speak a bit about a company which is consulting, it's because to explain you a bit how consultants think, they are super obsessed about value. Like everything they do should have value because they are basically also they cost a lot of money for companies, so they have to justify those costs, and they are very, very obsessed about value. But I do believe, to simplify, that if you are too obsessed about value, and specifically economical value, you might overlook other value, like the societal value one. And that's a bit the motivation that pushed us to build this project, is that sometimes we think about money, okay, but you should also think a bit more about the why you are doing stuff. So what we did back then was to open a group together, which we called Impact Hub within the company, that was really pushing for more societal impact projects, most of the time for free. And this is how we started this journey, basically, together. And this is how we got our first contact and our first, what we call pro bono project. So it's a project we did for free. It happened, I think, 1.5 years ago. And we started to put a bit of extra time that we had, a bit of time that we had also in our work, because consulting, it's a lot of workload sometimes, and sometimes you don't have a lot, so you can invest some time on personal stuff. And we use this time to build this project. That's how we met Smart Park. So that's the company we built the project with. That's an NGO based in Utrecht. What they do, basically, is that they build a lot of connected devices, a lot of IoT. They want to use technology in order to protect endangered species, so animals, basically, in parks, and basically protect and conserve the environment. So you have a picture of Smart Park. You can have way more on their website. That's basically how we met them, and they told us about the impact of poaching in Africa. So just a few numbers to show it on the rhino, especially. Every day, you have at least 2 rhinos that are poached, in average, if you just take South Africa. And today, the population of rhino, so focusing just on the black rhino, it's around 6,000. So the trend is going better because we managed to make that curve go up again. But still, they are critically endangered. And if you really think about it, it triggers a bit my business consulting brain to say, OK, if I look on the number, it has an economic value as well. it has a negative impact in the industry of tourism for those countries in Africa. And we estimate that this loss is around $25 million a year, so that's not nothing, just for elephant poaching alone. But it also triggers my more impact part, so my trust in humanity, which is the loss of biodiversity is not only dangerous for the economy, but it's also dangerous for climate change. And I also read online that it can increase a lot also the number of diseases around the world. So we just had one nice example of big disease. We don't want it to happen again. So of course, we were super worried about this one. We can discuss also in the details about why it's happening, but basically just know that if you disrupt an ecosystem, it will have impact on the planet, it will have impact on us one day or another. So we are super motivated to do it. And the idea and the ambition of the project, again, was to use those camera traps that you can see here. So super handy, you can hide them in a bush, you can hide them wherever you want. And it detects movement thanks to the little device here, and it takes pictures. It really takes picture of everything that's moving in front of it. The goal of this specific project, was to manage to develop from this camera trap a machine learning pipeline that was able to really take this picture, analyze the results, and display them in a way that basically ranger and also any data scientist who work on the project could detect poachers. How do we want to detect poachers? To keep it simple, we try just to detect human, and if we see a human in a bad location at a bad moment, we trigger an alarm, so the ranger can just go and check what's happening there. I would say second goal was to push it forward and to use it also for wildlife monitoring, so not only detect human, but also detect every kind of animal. So if you see that a rhino is somewhere that he's not supposed to be, maybe you want to check if everything is going right, etc. That was the ambition. We first really wanted to focus on open source technology, so the Smart Park is also working a lot on open source technology on their side. And this is a bit the ecosystem that you can see today on the left and on the middle around wildlife monitoring. So those are technologies that are used today for wildlife monitoring. And we wanted to check Zamba, basically, which was the open source model used by this company, Zamba Cloud, to detect and classify animals in camera trap video. So the first really step that we took was to benchmark a bit Zamba, to do some tests with Zamba, to see if it was really good for our case or not. And we started this journey. So just two small experiments that we did among a lot of others. We did try Zamba, this open source package, and we did it on some tests to track, see if he was able to detect humans, because it was the first goal. And then we did it to see if he was able to detect blank. Why blank? Because you really want that when your camera triggers for nothing, so there is a blank, there is nothing on the picture, you don't want it to send false alarm to the ranger, because they will start to just go, see there is nothing, they will lose their trust into the AI, and you will lose them, and then they will just stop working with you. So that's really not something we do. We want, sorry. So from this test, we see that human really not satisfying, 71% of accuracy. We were far from what we expected. And on the blank labeling, what you can see, which is interesting, is that I think one time out of 30, he really detected a blank, because it was all empty picture, but most of the time, he detected basically mongoose everywhere. Don't ask me why. It was one of the big surprises we had. So out of 30 pictures, I think on 20 pictures, he was detecting mongoose on the picture, even though there was absolutely nothing on the picture. So of course, it was not as simple as that. We tried to see if it was easy to trick, etc. But the conclusion of this big benchmarking, with Zamba was we don't have a model that we want. It's not generalizing enough for our use case. And we don't have, sadly, the data and the time to build our own model, because it needs a lot of resources. What we can put is just some, let's say, one day every 2 weeks on the project. We cannot commit to do a lot more. So let's use just an API as a placeholder there, so the Cloud Vision API from Google in this case, and let's just focus on the pipeline design. So if later we find a good model, if someone has a super cool idea and do like an open source model, we can kind of plug it. If you work in machine learning, you know it's not as simple as that, but that was the idea, that we really build everything around the model. We develop the pipeline, and if one day we have a cool model, we just plug it to our system. And this is what we came off. So we just want, before we dive into the technical detail, show you a demo of what we build, and Simone will take over.
Yeah, Hello everyone. So as Miles said, we developed both web app for the data scientists to check the results of our model. So in this case, just at the beginning of Miles' talk, I took a picture of him, and here we have the results. So I mean, the model we use, is like Cloud Vision API, so it's very generic and detects everything that he finds in a picture. So also before like person, pants, really whatever. And our model, our approach also works with videos. So before we also took a video just to test that everything was working. So, and as you can see, yeah, really detects everything. So it's not specific for animals or wildlife, but for now, at least at the moment, is very generic. We also have a map. So here we can also manage the camera traps. So if I'm not mistaken, we have one here in in Amsterdam, right where we are. So here. And we can also see some metadata about the camera, so the name, the latitude, longitude, the last detection, and so on. And finally, we have just a page, a configuration page, where you can add more camera traps or change the details of the ones that are already in place. And at the same time, we were also able to integrate our solution with an already existing website called Earth Ranger that is used by rangers in in parks to to monitor the wildlife, and not only that. And here we create a sort of alarm, where the ranger can check the detection, and also a small note on what was detected, and based on the image and the text, can then act on it. So if I don't know, it sees that there was detected a rhino somewhere that should not be, can go there and check if everything is going well or not.
Yeah, what you see is really one app for data scientists who want to monitor the result of their model and make sure the prediction makes sense. And the other is really the application that rangers have in park. So Earth Ranger, this is the one that you see. This is where they get notification, and they can basically get the information they want from the camera and see if there is an alarm or not.
Yeah, so let's dig more into the architecture. So this is more or less the overview of our solution. So as soon as the camera trap takes a picture, it sends an email to an email box with the picture or the video attached. Then we use Node-RED, that is like an event-driven tool to extract the attachment from the email and send it to cloud storage. This upload triggers a cloud function that then calls the Cloud Vision or Cloud Video Intelligence APIs. Then we get the response from the API, and we save it to BigQuery, and we save the labeled image or video to cloud storage. We send the bot to Node-RED, and then from Node-RED we create an alarm to then push to Earth Ranger. And at the same time, the web app developed using Streamlit reads from BigQuery and cloud storage to then show on the web app the results of the detection. And for, more or less, in terms of speed, for a picture, it takes more or less 30 seconds to run end-to-end the pipeline. Instead, for a video, depends, of course, on the length of the video, around 2 minutes.
Yep. To explain a bit the philosophy behind and why we make those choices, because it's always important to consider in architecture design. The philosophy was to really keep everything simple, cheap, fully automated, and scalable. There was an additional part about using as much as possible open source technology. So if we go back, Node-RED is open source, Streamlit is open source. The only part that we did not manage to do open source is the modeling part for now on. And it's an event-driven architecture, and it's serverless. So it's really cost-effective because you pay for what you use. It really scale up. So the more camera you put, Cloud Run, basically, which is a service that is serving Docker container to host the website, can adapt to the number of visitors, the number of people who go in. Cloud function is the same. We trigger it like one per camera. You can go to multiple thousand of cloud function, and it's really cost effective as well. And we have also the API that is for now really bringing scalability, because you just pay for the number of picture that you send or number of video that you send. It's easy to monitor, and that's why we also developed kind of this Streamlit part to balance a bit, because you also you only see the good point there. If you really want to act fast, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, maybe it's still a lot. A lot of delay are also because we go on the cloud and back. So maybe if you really deploy on the edge the AI on the camera, and if you manage to do it, that's a way you can really go from 30 seconds to just less than 5. So can you really act faster there? But still, it was a nice demo that we can show, and that was the goal. To illustrate also the cost-effective part, of course, this is not representative of intense usage in a park, but I think last month we paid 22 cents of euro, just to keep everything running. So for hosting the website, for hosting also the prediction of the camera, etc., for the inference. So you can see that it's quite, for now, easy to maintain. We don't have to worry for the hardware, and cost-effective. That was the goal that we had, because it's still hosted internally, and the goal is either to host it on the cloud of the potential park we will collaborate with, or to keep it and see what we do with the cost. The next step, yes, on this one, it's basically, we did the demo here. I think we have a cool product. You will judge it at the end. But the next step is really, we want to deploy it in a park. So either in Africa or in Europe, we really want to see the system in place. Because of course, we can spend time on optimizing the model, doing evaluation, etc. But I really want this product to face the reality before we can really decide what are the next steps. So that's why we are still looking for contacts. The person we work with together, team, have a lot of contact in Africa, but still it's too much of a risky investment for him to deploy it. If you want to do it in Africa especially, you don't just have to deploy the camera trap, you also have to deploy the network, the 4G network. We wanted to do it in Namibia. So you have to build antennas. So our colleagues team know how to do it, but it costs a ton of money, to say in short. So we would like to basically experiment it also in Netherlands, potentially in a park. Thank you. We also want to implement it in Netherlands in a park. Potentially, I know that there is the Veluwe Park, there is a lot, where we can potentially try to detect a wolf. We are still looking for contacts. If you have any, feel free to reach out after this talk, or scan the QR code if they are big enough. We also want to keep monitoring the evolution of computer vision, so we are doing a bit of a technical watch. If you have cool package in mind, if you know cool stuff, we are happy to take them to see where we can focus our research next in order to improve the modeling part. And we are also today open sourcing the code, so it's mostly the code from the web app, but we want also to release some tutorials. You have an article on Medium from Simone that you can read, so you can also replicate exactly the same stuff at home. You just need to buy the camera. Don't ask me where you can find it. I'm just in contact with Tim there, but the goal is really to also empower people to be able to do them. On this specific field, I've seen a lot of academic stuff happening, but I never seen people taking more like the practical approach of the engineering approach on how do you deploy it in park. So the goal is to open source also a methodology like covering everything around the model, so people who do academics can also try to apply it on their side. And last next step, I would say, build more documentation, build more feature, continue to develop the package, keep the traction. That's something we want to do, definitely as the next step. So if you are also interested to participate, feel free to reach out at the end of it. I think that's it for the talk. I'm happy to take questions if you have any.